Tu Bishbat, a minor yet festive holiday on which we have the beautiful customs of eating special food, dried fruit, nuts, 7 species, planting trees. But the original conception of the day, as is often said, was not as a holiday at all. It's first introduced to us in the Mishnah simply as a cutoff date for the agricultural laws of the Torah pertaining to the fruits of the trees. The Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashana explains the reasoning behind it, because by the 15th day of Shebat, the majority of the rains in the rainy season have already fallen. So in a few minutes, we'll go out into the rain to discover how our ancestors practiced agriculture in the land of Israel 3,000 years ago, and try to figure out why the day only became a holiday many centuries later, when we were mostly living in the exile, where the laws of the day are not even applicable. But before we get to that, I want to share some introductory thoughts about the Jewish calendar in general. The Guinness Book of World Records says about the Jewish calendar that it's the oldest calendar in the world in continuous use until today. Now, of course, that's something to be very proud of, but what if I told you that the Jewish calendar, or the Hebrew calendar, in many ways is not uniquely Jewish? What if I told you, furthermore, that our forefathers avoided using the calendar, avoided using any calendar for that matter? So what am I talking about? If we open up the Torah, a calendar and dates are very important. The dates of our holidays and dates of important events. And it starts from the very beginning. In Bereshit, we have what was created on the first day, the second day, the third day, etc. And then when it comes to Noah and the flood, we have what date the flood started, what date it finished, what date the ark rested. But once we get to Abraham, it stops. There's no mention of dates when anything happened. And that continues with Yitzhak, Yaakov, all the way until HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chodashim, until the Exodus when we become a nation. Now, I think it's on purpose that there's no mention of dates in the period of our forefathers, because they didn't want to use the calendar, they didn't want to connect with the culture and the society around them. Any interaction with the locals in the land of Canaan was out of necessity. They also were nomadic shepherds, not involved in agriculture, so they didn't need a set calendar. And we know that their way of living, their approach was not to interact, because they were very adamant about not marrying any of the locals. But once we became a nation, that ended. The first commandment we have is, this month is the first month for you. We need a calendar as a nation. And as we move to the land of Israel, all the more so as we become involved in agriculture. But that fear of it becoming a contact point with other cultures and other societies, it definitely came true. For example, we see in the days of Shlomo HaMelech, at which there was a height of interacting with other societies, we see the first time names of months are mentioned. And it's not the months that we know today. So for example, in connection with the building of the temple, when the construction started, when it ended, we have the names of the months of Etanim, the month of Bul, the month of Ziv. And these months, the names of those months, are actually also used in ancient times by the Phoenicians. And the Phoenicians actually contributed to the building of the temple, both with labor and with materials, because their leader, Hiram Melech Tzor, had a covenant with Shlomo HaMelech. And artifacts have actually been found in modern times in Lebanon and in Cyprus containing the names of those months as well. So we see that culture was shared through the calendar, and later on we adopted new names of the months from the Babylonians. And those are the months that we still use today, Tishrei, Heshvan, Kislev, etc. They were borrowed many, many years ago from Babylonians. And that's how the calendar really was a way for us to connect with other cultures rather than being isolated. But what is it about the calendar that's special? It connects us with the land and through agriculture. What do I mean by that? Let's go out now and take a look at an amazing artifact and see what it can teach us. So this place is Tel Gezer. Gezer is mentioned in the Tanakh as a city that was fortified by King Solomon. It's at a strategic location overlooking the coastal plain, the ancient travel and trade routes. And this site was excavated around 120 years ago by an archaeologist called McAllister. and they found a stone, which this is a replica of. It was about the size of a palm, and it had an inscription on it in ancient Hebrew. I'll read the exact words translated to English. 2 months of harvest, 2 months of sowing, 2 months of late planting, 1 month of hoeing flax, 1 month of barley harvest, 1 month of harvest and measuring, 2 months of vine pruning, and 1 month of summer fruit. This calendar doesn't have any names of the months. It doesn't even have number of which month is the first, the second, the third. It just tells us what agricultural activities were done during those months. That highlights the fact that a calendar is needed for agriculture. It's our way of being in tune with the land, being in sync with it, and it's how our forefathers were able to, and today again, we're able to know what to expect, be in tune with the climate, the rains, and everything like that. And I think that this is why Tu Bishbat only became a holiday, became celebrated after we lost all that, when we were in exile. And we appreciated the fact that we still had the calendar, and we still remembered days like Tu Bishbat, and the significance of what it meant to be living as our own nation and working our land. So the calendar connected us back to that. And that's why we decided that that date was a cause of celebration. The celebration of Tu Bishvat was further accelerated when we started coming back. So for example, the 16th century, the mystics of Safed created the Tu Bishbat Seder. And in modern times, we have the custom of planting trees on Tu Bishvat. So these ideas about the calendar, I think that it can give us a better appreciation of the day. Therefore, I wish you a great Tu Bishbat. Thanks so much for watching.